Yo, bonjour, mon frère. Welcome back to another episode of OCC, only Certi Convos. And today, I got something I want to discuss with you, mans. I just want to talk to you, mans, about it. The other day, I was chatting to one of my friends, and we're just talking and just having a little catch up. And they said to me, they don't know what the current plan is. In my head, I started thinking, what do you mean you don't know what the current plan is? And I said this out loud. What do you mean you don't know what the current plan is? And I just started talking to them and started breaking it down with your skill sets and what you do. This is what you could be doing. You know what I mean? This is just one thing you could be doing. And let me break it down with you guys. So they do photography. So I'm like, cool. Why don't you? And you want to get experience on field and on set with other big photographers and working with them. You get me? Not for them, with them. Not for them, with them. You get me? And I'm thinking, cool, that's all good and that, but what else can you be doing on the side? Whilst you're doing that, what else are you doing to bring your exposure back up as well? And I was like, cool, why didn't you do X, Y, and Z? I don't want to break it down because what if they actually start doing it and more people start taking their thing and stuff like that? So I don't want to break it down just like that, but just an instance, like you can do this, but what else are you doing at the same time? And that got me thinking, a lot of us know what the end goal is. You know what I mean? For me, the end goal is to be directing my own films. I want to have my own production studio and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Have my own studio, my own equipment in that studio. People can come in and build sets, record music videos, whatever. You know what I mean? Just have my own studio. But what steps am I taking to get there? When you deep it, there's steps you have to take. So let's say there's 4 steps to take to reach the end goal. 1, 2, 3, 4, end goal. Yeah? Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. But when you start at step 1, what steps are you taking to reach that first initial step? You get me? It's like recording a podcast. You want to record a podcast. That's cool in that. You need equipment. Before you even need the equipment, all of that jazz, what is your podcast about? What are you going to be talking about on the podcast? Are you going to be bringing in guests on a regular basis? Or are you just going to be on a solo thing all the time? You know what I mean? How many episodes are you going to record per season? If you're going to have seasons. Or is it going to be ongoing all the time? Before you even think about the equipment, you need to think about the actual podcast content itself. You know what I mean? It's those small steps you take before taking the first step. So that's in terms of a podcast. For me, that's how I see it. The first step is to get the equipment. But before that, you take that first step, there's a smaller steps you have to take. And those smaller steps are thinking, what is your podcast about? Once you take those smaller steps, understand what your podcast is about, now you take that first initial step of trying to get the equipment for it. You know what I mean? You understand what I mean from that? Do you understand what I mean? And that's one thing I want us to really grasp and understand. It's like, yes, we can take steps towards our end goal, but when you're taking them steps, there's smaller individual steps within those that we have to take to be able to realize our end goal. And it's all a learning process, and it can go up, it can go down. But are you still gonna keep your faith during those times when everything just goes sour, when everything just goes down? Are you gonna keep your faith? That's the point. Are you gonna keep your faith? Are you gonna carry on trusting in God or trusting in yourself and your abilities, knowing that cool, everything might be a bit sour at the moment, but we all know what the end goal is. You know what I mean? We all know what the end goal is. We can take a little bump on the road on the way, but hey, we're still gonna reach our end goal. You get me? And let me give this other example as well. It's like cool. Someone I know is launching their fashion brand. You know what I mean? I'm kind of excited because it's actually kind of big. I see a lot of preparation and talk to them about it, and so much preparation going into it. And they were initially gonna launch at the start of this year. You know what I mean? In January, they were gonna launch in January, but due to some circumstances, can't say that word, they had to push it back. But I don't see it as like a bad thing. To be honest, it's like a blessing in disguise for how I see it. It just gives them more time to ready themselves for the launch, you know what I mean? They don't need to rush anything. They don't need to worry about, is everything sorted? are we ready for this launch? Nah. They have a lot more time to actually look at it and analyze it. You know what I mean? And then when we bring it back to those steps we've taken, the first step for their brand, how I see it, the first step for that brand is the initial launch. The first step is the launch. But what smaller steps are they taking to get to that launch day? You know what I mean? Have they got the stock for it? Have they patterned the website? Have they patterned the social media for it? Stuff like that. Those smaller steps building up towards the launch day. And it's all about preparation for them. You know what I mean? They're preparing for that launch day. And they're taking those smaller steps to reach that first initial step of launch day. Cool. What's the next step? Trying to establish yourself within that business, you know what I mean? Between your competitors and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So we have to think about the smaller steps within the big first step we take towards reaching our goal. It's like everything is a process, you know what I mean? We can't just take big steps towards our end goal. There's smaller individual steps we have to take before we even reach the first step. It can be a process. It can be a process, you know what I mean? It can take, let's say, a couple weeks, couple months, couple years. Who knows, innit? Depending on what you're doing and what you want to achieve. It can take a long time. But it's all about perseverance, you know what I mean? We have to stick through it, and we just have to get it done and dusted. We can't just give up and just stop doing it. You know what I mean? We have to keep at it and keep those smaller steps. And you have to make it realistic as well. You know what I mean? We have to make it realistic. It's like, you want to become a footballer. It don't happen just like that. There's sacrifices that have to be made. Sometimes you have to sacrifice spending time with your friends. Sometimes you have to sacrifice, instead of going to that party, you're training. You get me? The sacrifices that have to be made in order for you to realize your goals and your end goal as well. It's a lot to take in for me. It's a lot, to be honest, because I've been thinking about it. You know what I mean? That thought's just been lingering in my head. Like, I don't know what my current plan is. When they said that, I was like, wow. It's like, you don't know what the current plan is. But I could just, like, it's not a bad thing to not know what the current plan is. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to belittle if you don't know what the current plan is or whatever. A lot of people don't know what the current plan is. You get me? But we all know what the end goal is. I'm pretty sure we all know where we want to be at the end of the day. End of the day, we all want to be up top, doing our thing, doing the thing we love the most. But it's all about those smaller steps we take. Not the big steps towards it, the smaller steps within those big steps we take towards reaching that end goal. And that's one thing I want you guys to understand and just to have a think about. Like, of course, we take steps, but we have to start realizing there's smaller steps within those that we have to take first before we even get to that big first step. You get me? That's just one thing I want you guys to think about. Like, with your respective field, with respective jobs and stuff like that, whatever you guys are doing, you have an end goal for it and you're taking steps towards it. But I want you to really narrow it down, really analyze the steps you're taking. What smaller steps are you taking towards reaching that first step towards your goal? That's one thing I want you guys to think about. You know what I mean? Just have that thought for the week. Like, what steps are you taking? Not steps. What smaller steps are you taking to reach the end goal? You get me? But yeah, this shouldn't be a long episode. It was a quick topic I want to discuss, in it. Just a quick one, because it was on my head. It was on my head. When we had that conversation with my friend, when I was talking to them, and they said it was in my head for a while. You know what I mean? I started thinking, like, yeah, what is the current plan? You know what I mean? I had to sit back myself and just look at myself like, what is the current plan, could say? Or like, Biggs, what's the current plan at the moment? You know what I mean? And I say this to a lot of people. In my head, I'm always scheming. Thinking about what's the next thing, what we have to do next, what's the next goal? You know what I mean? What's the next scheme? What's the next thing we're cooking up? Always thinking. And then it's about shifting our mindset to having a business mindset. You know what I mean? We can have the creative mindset, of course, but it's about shifting that creative mindset into becoming a business mindset. If anything, if you work well within pairs, find someone that's good on the business side and you're good on the creative side. Find someone that's good on the business side and work with each other. You know what I mean? That's what people are here for. I feel like a lot of people try to do things on their Jack Jones, try to do things on their ones. Nothing wrong with that. But there are people there that really will help you, And in fact, if you find the right connections, there are people there that will collab with you, that will work with you towards reaching that goal. You know what I mean? Sometimes we don't need to make it successful on our ones or by ourselves. I doubt that will ever happen. You know what I mean? It's a rare situation where it may happen, but a lot of big people always have a core foundation, a core team with them. A core team of around like 2 or 3 people around them, helping them realize that goal. So why don't you try to find people that are on the same wavelength with you? Or surround yourself with people that will push you, that will give you another perspective on things, and really just help you elevate yourself to higher heights. You get me? But yeah, just want to leave you guys with that thought. Just think about it. What smaller steps within those big steps are you taking to reach your end goal? Just think about that for the week, man. But yeah, I hope you guys are having a good week, or you had a good week, shall I say. You know what I mean? I hope everyone is safe. Praying for all of you guys as well, man. Hope you guys are doing good. But yeah, that's enough of me. I ain't going to talk too much anymore. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, man. And just think about it, as I'm saying, just think about it. But yeah, have a great week. And I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.